Welcome to Disability Book Week Superstar Authors. I am your host, Kelly M. Likes. Let's set the stage. I am here in my favorite orange pumpkin colored sweater. I have got a black and white dress on. It's some kind of flower. Sitting in front of a bookshelf of my favorite books. And over there, I've got a dragon and a bumblebee. We are sitting here today with our superstar author, Dr. Destiny Pacha, and she is wearing a yellow blazer. She's got a cute little necklace on. She's got glasses, beautiful smile. And I'm looking in her background and I see a zebra and a horse and some kids and some flowers. And it's just gorgeous, y'all. We're going to have an amazing interview. So, Destiny, welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right. First question. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am a mother to 9-year-old twins. That's always comes first. I am a Prader-Willi education specialist, so I know we'll talk a little bit about what Prader-Willi syndrome is. I support families through the education process, during supports and services. I train schools on the educational, behavioral, and health implications of Prader-Willi syndrome for children that are in schools. I present nationally and internationally to on education and the supports for students with Prader-Willi syndrome.
That is awesome. All right. You got to tell me a little bit about your book.
So my book is it starts with hello, Katie's story about Prader-Willi syndrome. It's about a little girl who has Prader-Willi syndrome, and it goes through a kind of a day in a life going to school, and it highlights some of the times where she might need a little extra support or areas of that she might have some differences than her peers, and tries to help the other students understand what she might be doing or feeling and what they might be seeing. But really, after every little you know information that's on a page, there's always a question for the reader, or for the reader to maybe ask of children if they're reading it to them. So the goal there was really to kind of, acknowledge that there might be some differences, embrace those differences, but also explore their similarities. So by the time you answer the question, you find out that you might be more alike than you thought. And that kind of goes through her whole day of, waking up in the morning and going to school, and some of the social challenges that might happen, some of the difficulties with, language that comes up when we use different idioms and sayings, and then it does focus on kind of the hallmark characteristic or feature of Prader-Willi syndrome, which is that inability to feel full. So making sure that you keep your friends safe and not sharing food, and if you see your friend, trying to get food or access some food, letting a safe adult know.
That is amazing. So you gotta tell me how did this go from idea in your head to holding the book in your hand? What was your process of getting the book written and published?
Wow. Well, the book is based on a real life little girl, who is now not so little anymore. But I I met her when I was still in the school system. So I was a teacher, and then I kind of oversaw special education, and met this amazing family and this even more amazing young lady, and just absolutely fell in love with her, and really wanted to better understand what she was going through every day. And when it came time to try to give I guess like a kid friendly version, or try to help her peers um, that were around her and might be witnessing things they weren't really sure what was happening, I didn't have any, I couldn't find anything. There actually isn't anything. And, eventually I left the school system and started going into this more of, supporting families and schools. And I ended up, this is the path I chose to take. I'm very fortunate to be in the PWS community. And I just, again, could not, there was just nothing out there. So I went threw the idea around, asked the family and the young girl, what their thoughts were and if they would be comfortable. And I had a good friend who does design and knew some illustrators, and we kind of just started. And one day originally the book actually had it in all different pieces. It's so funny when I look back. And then as I was going through, I was like, really, it's just a day of school. And so we kind of move things around so that it better fit seeing what it's like to go to school every day, and just kind of making those connections and really putting it in a way that kids can understand. So really, it's the only children's book about Prader-Willi syndrome, which is extremely rare. It is a very rare genetic condition. So something that I believe strongly in is that every child should be able to see themselves in literature and in books and in stories. And, you know, even when I was an undergrad, my thesis was on classroom libraries and the importance of, having a variety of books that are at all different levels and about all different topics and fully inclusive. And so it just made sense when there wasn't anything out there. That just means you got to do it. So that kind of is how it came to, and now I'm so fortunate. We just had the book translated into Spanish and into French, and it was translated by families with children living with Prader-Willi syndrome. So a little bit more even special touch there. We are currently working on Arabic, and then I also have already been yes, words contracted to write the next part of the journey. So Katie's story is going to continue. She's going to go to middle school, and we're going to be focusing then for the child to understand themselves. Because at that point, they start kind of seeing and realizing some of those differences, and needing to just have answers, but again, at a way that they can understand. So, kind of making it more on the teen-like, graphic-like. So we're really excited about that. And then the next step would be doing it for their siblings. So, siblings of individuals with disabilities carry a lot. And so helping them also work through that and what that means for them and how they can be supportive, but also be supported in their role as the
I'm excited. I'm excited to interview you when you get the next books out. I think that's just amazing. Can you tell me what advice would you give to somebody who would love to write a story, especially one that they don't see out in the world? What advice would you have to them about writing a book?
goodness. To me, I find I write best about personal, the personal side of things. So if you have, a personal connection or see a need out there in something, I think making sure that you're putting your heart in it and knowing that, you're doing this out of care, compassion, empathy, love, and really making sure that that is heard through your story. Obviously I don't live with Prader-Willi syndrome, but I care very much for many children who do. And that was kind of where this need was to present it in a way that children can understand, but also kind of in a way to help them feel a connection when sometimes at first they may not see it there.
I love that. I love that. All right, it is my favorite part of the interview. Would you please share a portion of your book with us?
You want me to read it?
Whatever, if a part that you would like, yes.
Okay. So there is a page that if I push in my app, show us six pages, the lunchroom scene. So, okay, this particular part of the book took a lot of extra effort, and I consulted with families in making sure that we had, the setup to be as realistic as possible. So in this setting, Katie is kind of off on the bottom towards the reader, but you can see that there's two friends. One is, we're assuming, maybe in the background, but she's not there. And then a young man who's there. And then her bento box, though, is very specific with the food that's included because on ILZ, do they struggle with, they don't ever feel that wholeness, but their metabolism, they can only consume a portion of what other children or peers their same age can consume. So sometimes it looks like it's not a lot of food, but it's very specific and prescribed by their medical team. So we put a lot of work into this to make sure that it, was the most realistic. And because it is about that part of it, the hyperphagia, I thought I might read that.
That'll be awesome. Thank you.
You may notice I eat at the same time every day and only specific food from home. I usually have whole grains, healthy proteins, some fruit, and lots of vegetables for lunch. Sweets and other snacks in your lunch can make me sick, so please don't share with me. If I eat something I shouldn't, it is very important for an adult to know so they can keep me safe. Do you bring your lunch to school or do you get it from the cafeteria?
I love that. I love how that brings the child right into the story and asks the question. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Well, Destiny, I have to say thank you for being here. And would you have any final words that you would like to share with us?
I mean, I guess for anybody out there, just because you can't find it doesn't mean that you can't create it. And putting the effort into helping children of various needs, various backgrounds, really does help build our world. So I with empathy, right? So a big part of what I do and say is to try to empower that empathy to help those understand so that then they can also spread that kindness and empathy to others.
Thank you.